I needed the money for a ski trip to Whistler. That's what my grandson told me when I asked him where my late wife's pocket watch had gone. The one thing I had left of Margaret. The only piece of her I could still hold in my hands. Let me back up. My name is Robert. I'm 63 years old, and I live in a small town outside Calgary. Margaret and I were married for 38 years before the cancer took her 2 winters ago. We never had much money. I worked at the rail yard my whole life, and she was a school librarian. But we were happy. We had our daughter, Jennifer, and eventually our grandson, Tyler. That pocket watch was special. It wasn't just some heirloom passed down through generations. Margaret bought it for me with her first paycheck from the library, back in 1987. She'd saved for months. I can still remember her hands shaking when she gave it to me on our 10th anniversary. Silver casing, simple face, nothing fancy. But on the back, she'd had it engraved. To Robert, time stops when I'm with you. Love, M. After she died, I couldn't wear my wedding ring anymore. It hurt too much. I couldn't look at our photo albums. I packed away most of her things. But that watch? I kept it on my nightstand. Every morning, I'd wind it up. Every night, I'd hold it before I went to sleep. It was like she was still there, somehow. Tyler moved in with me 6 months ago. He's 24. Lost his job at the ski resort, got behind on rent, the usual story. Jennifer thought it would be good for both of us. Company for me. A chance for Tyler to get back on his feet. I didn't mind. The house felt too empty anyway. He was always a good kid. A bit irresponsible, sure. Spent too much time on his phone. Couldn't seem to hold down a job for more than a few months. But he helped around the house, shoveled the driveway without being asked. We'd watch hockey night in Canada together on Saturdays. I should have noticed something was wrong. It was a Tuesday morning in late November. The first real snowfall of the season had come through overnight, and everything outside looked clean and white. I got up at 6 like always, went to wind the watch, and it wasn't there. Where was it? I checked behind the nightstand. Maybe it had fallen. Nothing. I pulled open the drawer. Not there either. I got down on my hands and knees, looked under the bed. My heart was starting to pound. Where was it? I went through every drawer in my bedroom, twice. I checked the bathroom counter, thinking maybe I'd left it there when I brushed my teeth. The kitchen table. The coffee table in the living room. My jacket pockets. Everywhere. It was gone. Tyler was still asleep. I stood outside his door for a long moment, my hand on the knob. No, I thought. He wouldn't. Would he? But I'd been noticing things. Small things. My liquor cabinet had been looking lighter. $20 had gone missing from my wallet last week. When I asked him about it, he said he must have borrowed it and forgotten to mention it. He'd pay me back. He never did. I knocked on his door. No answer. I knocked harder. Tyler, wake up. I heard him groan, then shuffle around. The door opened. He looked terrible. Bloodshot eyes, his hair sticking up everywhere. What time is it? He mumbled. Have you seen my pocket watch? He blinked at me. What? My watch. The one from the nightstand. It's gone. I don't know, Grandpa. Did you check everywhere? Yes. I checked everywhere. That's why I'm asking you. He held up his hands. I didn't touch it, man. Maybe you put it somewhere and forgot. Maybe you put it somewhere and forgot. Like I was some senile old man who couldn't remember where he put things. I didn't forget, I said, my voice harder than I meant it to be. I put it on my nightstand every single night for 2 years. It was there yesterday. Now it's not. I don't know what to tell you. He started to close the door. Tyler, he stopped. If you took it, just tell me. We can work something out. I just need it back. I didn't take your watch, he said, looking me right in the eye. Then he closed the door. I stood there in the hallway, my chest tight. I wanted to believe him, but something in his voice, the way he wouldn't quite hold eye contact. I spent the rest of the morning tearing the house apart. I checked places that didn't even make sense. The linen closet, the garage, behind the washer and dryer. Nothing. Around noon, Tyler came out of his room, showered, and dressed. I'm heading out, he said, grabbing his coat. Where are you going? Meeting some friends for lunch. What friends? He stopped, his hand on the doorknob. What's that supposed to mean? You've been living here 6 months, Tyler. I've never seen any friends come by. Never heard you talk about anyone. Jesus Christ, Grandpa. I'm not 12. I don't need to check in with you every time I leave the house. I'm not asking you to check in. I'm asking where you're going. Out. He opened the door and left before I could say anything else. I watched through the window as he got into his beat-up Honda and drove away. My hands were shaking. From anger or fear or sadness, I couldn't tell. Probably all three. What was I supposed to do? He was my grandson, Jennifer's son, all the family I had left besides her. But if he'd taken Margaret's watch, I called Jennifer. Dad, everything okay? I need to ask you something about Tyler. There was a pause. What happened? My watch is missing. The one from your mother. Another pause. Longer this time. And you think Tyler took it? I don't know. But it's gone. And he's the only other person in the house. She sighed. One of those deep, tired sighs that told me this wasn't the first time she'd had to deal with something like this. What is it, Jennifer? He's been having money problems. Worse than I told you. My stomach dropped. How bad? He owes some people. From when he was betting on hockey games. I thought he'd stopped, but I found out last month he's in deeper than I realized. How much? $8,000. I sat down hard on the couch. $8,000. On a rail worker's pension, that might as well have been $1 million. Why didn't you tell me? Because I knew you'd worry. I've been helping him make payments, but it's not enough. He keeps saying he's going to get a job, get it sorted out, but he doesn't. No. We sat in silence for a moment, the phone line crackling faintly between us. Dad, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked you to let him stay. I thought maybe if he had some stability, away from his old friends. It's not your fault. If he took the watch, I'll make him return it. I'll drive down there right now. No. Let me handle it, Dad. I said I'll handle it. After I hung up, I sat there staring at the wall. The watch wasn't worth $8,000. It was silver-plated, not solid silver. The movement was nothing special. Maybe I could get $200 for it at a pawn shop, $300 if I was lucky, but that didn't matter to someone desperate. I waited for Tyler to come home. I waited all afternoon and into the evening. By 8 o'clock, I was pacing the living room, looking out the window every few minutes. By 9, I was furious. By 10, I was scared. He finally came home just after 11. I heard his car pull up, heard him fumbling with his keys at the door. When he came in, he smelled like beer. We need to talk, I said. He jumped. Shit, Grandpa. You scared me. Why are you sitting in the dark? Where's the watch, Tyler? Not this again. Where's the watch? I didn't mean to shout, but it came out anyway, loud and sharp. Tyler took a step back. I told you, I don't have your watch. I talked to your mother today. She told me about the gambling debts. His face went pale. Even in the dim light from the hallway, I could see it. That has nothing to do with $8,000, Tyler. $8,000. I'm handling it. By stealing from me? I didn't steal anything. Then where is it? Because it was here 2 days ago, and now it's gone, and you're the only other person in this house. Tyler's jaw clenched. He looked at the floor, at the wall, anywhere but at me. I needed the money, he finally said. So quietly, I almost didn't hear it. Everything went still. The furnace kicked off. The refrigerator stopped humming. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. You what? I needed the money, okay? These guys, they were going to hurt me. They said I had until the end of the month or they'd break my legs. What was I supposed to do? You were supposed to ask me. My voice cracked. You were supposed to come to me, and we would have figured something out. Together. You don't have that kind of money. So you took the one thing I had left of your grandmother, the one thing I asked you not to touch, the one thing in this entire house that mattered to me? He was crying now. Good. Let him cry. I'm sorry, Grandpa. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do. Where is it now? I sold it. I closed my eyes. Sold it. It was really gone. Where? A pawn shop downtown. Morrison's. The guy gave me $400 for it. I know it's not much, but $400. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You sold your grandmother's watch for $400. I'm sorry. Stop saying you're sorry. Sorry doesn't bring it back. I pushed past him and grabbed my coat from the hook by the door. Where are you going? To get it back. It's almost midnight. They'll be closed. Then I'll go first thing in the morning. I couldn't stay in that house another minute. I couldn't look at him. I drove around for an hour, not really going anywhere, just driving. The streets were empty. The snow from earlier had started to melt, leaving everything slushy and gray. When I finally went home, Tyler's door was closed. His light was off. I didn't care. I barely slept that night. I kept reaching for the watch out of habit, then remembering it wasn't there. The empty space on my nightstand looked enormous. At 8 o'clock the next morning, I was parked outside Morrison's pawn. The sign said they opened at 9. I sat in my truck with the heater running, watching people walk by. Office workers with their coffee, students with their backpacks, normal people having normal mornings. At exactly 9, a man unlocked the door from inside. I was out of my truck and through that door before he'd finished flipping the sign to open. "Good morning," he said, eyeing me a little warily. He was younger than me, maybe 50, with a gray beard and reading glasses on a chain around his neck. "Can I help you? My grandson sold you a pocket watch 2 days ago. Silver casing, engraved on the back. I need to buy it back." The man's expression shifted. Not unfriendly, but careful. "A lot of watches come through here. You have a description of the engraving?" "To Robert. Time stops when I'm with you. Love, M." He nodded slowly. "Wait here." He disappeared into the back. I stood at the counter, my heart pounding. "Please still have it," I thought. Please still have it." He came back a few minutes later, but his hands were empty. "I remember that watch," he said. My stomach dropped. "But you don't have it." "No, sir. I do have it. Before I bring it out, there's something you should know." "What?" "The casing opens." I stared at him. "What do you mean?" "It opens. There's a catch on the side, hidden pretty well. I only found it because I always check items thoroughly before I accept them. When you press it, the back swings open like a locket. I felt like the floor had tilted. I've had that watch for 37 years. It doesn't open." "With respect, sir, it does. Your grandson didn't seem to know about it either. When I opened it in front of him, he looked as surprised as you do now." "What's inside?" The man reached under the counter and pulled out a small tray. The watch sat in the middle of it, looking exactly as I remembered. He picked it up, pressed something on the side, and the back casing popped open. He turned it toward me. Inside was a tiny folded piece of paper and a lock of hair tied with a thin blue ribbon. My knees went weak. I grabbed the edge of the counter. "Sir, are you all right? Do you need to sit down?" "I'm fine," I managed. "Can I?" "Of course." He handed me the watch. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold it. I lifted out the lock of hair first. It was brown, shot through with gray. Margaret's hair. From before the chemo took it all. Then I unfolded the paper. It was small, maybe 2 inches square, and the handwriting on it was so tiny I had to squint to read it. It was dated December 14th, 2022, 3 weeks before she died. "My darling Robert, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you finally discovered my little secret. I'm sorry I never showed you this while I was alive. I suppose I was being sentimental. Foolish, maybe. This watch was the first real gift I ever bought you. Do you remember? I was so nervous giving it to you. We'd been married 10 years. But I still felt like that shy girl who couldn't believe you'd chosen me. I've loved you every day since I was 22 years old. 38 years of mornings and midnights, of laughter and tears, of the most beautifully ordinary life I could have imagined. I wish I had more time. I wish I could see what you look like at 70, at 80. I wish I could grow old beside you the way we planned. But since I can't, I'm leaving you this. A piece of me. A reminder. Don't grieve too long, my love. Don't let this world turn gray without me. Promise me you'll keep living, keep laughing, keep finding joy in small things. Time doesn't stop, Robert. It keeps going. And so should you. I love you forever, Margaret. I don't know how long I stood there crying. The man behind the counter didn't say anything. He just pushed a box of tissues across the counter and waited. When I could finally breathe again, I wiped my face and looked at him. How much? For the watch? Yes. Your grandson sold it to me for $400. But given the circumstances, $300. I pulled out my wallet. My hands were still shaking. I gave him $300 in cash, everything I'd withdrawn from the ATM that morning, planning to pay whatever it took. "Thank you," I said, "for calling me, for being decent about this. I've been doing this 30 years, he said quietly. I can usually tell when something matters. This mattered. I drove home with the watch in my coat pocket. I could feel its weight against my chest. Tyler's car wasn't in the driveway. Good. I wasn't ready to see him yet. I went inside, sat at the kitchen table, and read Margaret's note again. And again. I read it until I had it memorized. Time doesn't stop, Robert. It keeps going. And so should you. I thought about the last 2 years. How I'd been living in that house like a ghost, going through the motions, getting up, going to bed, eating when I remembered to, but not really living, just existing. She'd known. Somehow, she'd known. When Tyler came home that afternoon, I was sitting in the living room. The watch was on the coffee table between us. "You got it back," he said, his voice small. "I did. How much did you have to pay?" "That doesn't matter." He sat down on the edge of the couch, looking at the floor. "Tyler, look at me." He looked up. His eyes were red. "What you did was wrong," I said. "You know that, right?" "I know. You violated my trust. You stole something that meant everything to me. You did it to cover up your own mistakes, and you didn't even have the courage to tell me the truth until I dragged it out of you." "I know, Grandpa. I know, and I held up my hand. "I'm not finished. What you did was wrong. But I think I understand why you did it. You were scared. You were desperate. You made a terrible choice, but you made it because you felt trapped. I'm so sorry. I know you are. And I forgive you." His head snapped up. "What?" "I forgive you, Tyler. But things are going to change. You're going to get a job. Any job. I don't care if it's flipping burgers or pumping gas, but you're going to work. You're going to pay me back the $300. And you're going to figure out a payment plan for those gambling debts that doesn't involve stealing from your family. Okay, yes, I'll do all of that. And you're going to get help. Counseling. Gamblers Anonymous. Whatever it takes, because this pattern stops now. I will. I promise. I'm not kicking you out," I said. "You're my grandson, and I love you, but I won't enable you. You're 24 years old. It's time to grow up." Tyler was crying again, but this time I let him. Sometimes people need to cry. Sometimes tears are the only way grief and shame and regret can get out. After a while, he wiped his face on his sleeve. "Can I ask you something?" "What?" "What was inside the watch?" "The pawn shop guy said there was something inside." I picked up the watch, pressed the catch, and showed him. The letter. The lock of hair. "Your grandmother left me a note. The last thing she ever wrote to me." Tyler leaned forward, reading the tiny handwriting. "What does it say?" "It says that time keeps going. And so should I." He nodded slowly. "That sounds like Grandma." "It does, doesn't it?" That night, I sat on my bed with the watch in my hands. I read Margaret's note one more time. Then I carefully folded it back up and put it inside, along with the lock of hair, and pressed the case closed. I'd spent 2 years standing still. 2 years trapped in a moment that was over. Margaret was gone, and nothing would bring her back. But her love wasn't gone. It was right here, tucked inside a silver pocket watch, waiting for me to find it. Don't let this world turn gray without me. I looked around my bedroom, at the walls that used to be cream but had faded to dingy white, at the curtains I'd been meaning to replace for 3 years, at the photos I'd turned face down because they hurt too much to look at. Tomorrow, I thought, I'd turn those photos back around. Maybe I'd even hang a few more. Maybe I'd paint the bedroom. Margaret had always wanted to paint it blue. Maybe I'd finally start living again. I wound the watch, listening to the soft tick-tick-tick of the movement. Then I put it on my nightstand, right where it belonged, and turned off the light. Time doesn't stop, and neither would I.